Can I actually prove to my dog that I'm the pack leader, or have we completely misunderstood what dogs really think about humans all along? That question shaped dog training for decades. Many owners were taught that dogs constantly challenge authority, compete for control, and look for opportunities to climb some invisible social hierarchy inside the home. Because of that belief, millions of people started interpreting normal dog behavior through the lens of dominance. If the dog ignored a command, pulled on the leash, jumped on furniture, or became reactive, many people immediately assumed the dog was trying to take control. But over time, something about that explanation stopped making sense to many owners. Some incredibly loving dogs still ignored commands occasionally, while some fearful or anxious dogs reacted strongly despite having no interest in dominating anyone at all. That disconnect forced researchers and behaviorists to ask a completely different question. What if dogs do not actually see humans as rival pack members in the first place? One moment completely changed how I understood this idea. I once watched a nervous rescue dog enter a loud outdoor environment filled with unfamiliar people, movement, and non-stop noise. The dog stayed physically close to the owner almost the entire time. But what stood out most was not obedience. It was emotional dependence. Every few seconds, the dog glanced toward the owner before deciding how to respond to the environment. When the owner remained calm and emotionally steady, the dog slowly began relaxing too. That moment revealed something powerful. The dog was not treating the human like an alpha wolf. The dog was using the owner almost like an emotional reference point for safety and reassurance. And that changes the entire conversation. For years, the idea of the pack leader came from early wolf studies where researchers observed captive wolves competing aggressively for rank and control. Those observations eventually influenced dog training culture all over the world. People began assuming domestic dogs behaved exactly the same way, and that owners needed to constantly establish dominance in order to maintain respect. But later research painted a very different picture. Wild wolves were not constantly fighting for leadership the way people originally believed. Most wolf packs actually functioned more like family groups built around cooperation, familiarity, and social bonds rather than non-stop power struggles. And domestic dogs turned out to be even more different. Dogs evolved alongside humans for thousands of years. Over time, they became extraordinarily skilled at reading human emotions, routines, body language, movement patterns, tone changes, and social behavior. In many ways, dogs became specialists at living with humans rather than competing against them. One thing that surprised researchers repeatedly was how emotionally tuned in dogs are to people. Many dogs recognize stress, tension, sadness, frustration, fear, excitement, and emotional shifts surprisingly quickly. Some even change their own behavior depending on the emotional state of the owner standing beside them. This becomes especially obvious inside homes. Calm and predictable environments often create calmer dogs, while chaotic or emotionally unstable environments frequently create more anxious, reactive, or overstimulated behavior. That is not because the dog is trying to dominate the household. In many cases, the dog is simply responding emotionally to the atmosphere surrounding them every day. One thing that changed my perspective completely was realizing many dogs do not see humans as dogs at all. Dogs seem to understand humans are entirely different creatures. We communicate differently, move differently, sound different, smell different, and behave differently from other dogs. But despite those differences, dogs still form incredibly deep emotional attachment bonds with humans. That attachment often looks much closer to a parent-child relationship than a rivalry between competing pack members. Many dogs naturally look toward trusted humans during uncertainty. They seek reassurance during stress, follow familiar routines closely, and emotionally orient themselves around the people they trust most. That behavior is not really about dominance. It is about emotional safety. One thing many owners misunderstand is that structure and guidance still matter enormously. Dogs absolutely need consistency, communication, boundaries, and leadership inside homes. But healthy leadership usually looks very different from intimidation or physical dominance. A stable dog owner is usually calm, emotionally controlled, predictable, and consistent. The dog gradually learns what to expect from the environment and develops trust in the person guiding them through it. That creates security far more effectively than fear ever does. Another hidden truth many owners eventually discover is that fear-based handling often damages trust much faster than people realize. Harsh corrections, yelling, intimidation, or unpredictable punishment frequently create confusion and anxiety instead of genuine confidence. In many situations, the dog may actually be confused, emotionally overstimulated, anxious, or simply struggling to fully understand what the human is trying to communicate clearly. Once owners stop viewing every problem through the lens of dominance, many interactions suddenly become much easier to understand. One thing that surprised me repeatedly was how dramatically dogs changed once owners focused more on communication than control. Dogs that previously looked stubborn or disconnected often became calmer and far more responsive once the environment felt emotionally safer and easier to predict. The dog no longer felt like it needed to constantly guess what humans wanted or worry about unpredictable reactions from the people around them. Another major truth many owners eventually realize is that dogs learn socially from humans almost non-stop. Dogs constantly observe movement, routines, emotional reactions, tone changes, timing, habits, and daily patterns throughout the day. Many dogs begin predicting owner behavior with incredible accuracy after surprisingly short periods of time because they are always studying the people around them closely. This is one reason dogs often seem to know when owners are preparing for walks, meals, work routines, bedtime, or car rides long before anything obvious happens externally. One thing that changed my perspective completely was watching how differently dogs behave around people they deeply trust compared to people they merely obey. Obedience alone does not automatically create emotional connection, but trust changes almost everything about the relationship. Dogs that trust humans deeply often relax more fully, recover from stress faster, seek guidance naturally, and remain emotionally connected even during unfamiliar or uncomfortable situations. That emotional connection is far more powerful than simple compliance. Another hidden truth is that many behavioral problems become worse when owners focus too heavily on dominance-based thinking. Viewing every behavior as a challenge or battle for control often creates frustration on both sides of the relationship. In reality, many dogs are simply responding to stress, overstimulation, uncertainty, inconsistent communication, or environments that no longer feel emotionally stable to them. And once owners stop viewing the relationship as a constant contest for control, many interactions suddenly become much clearer and less emotionally tense. One thing dogs constantly reveal is that relationships built on emotional safety usually create more stable behavior long-term than relationships built primarily on fear or pressure. Dogs generally thrive most when life feels predictable, communication feels clear, and trusted humans provide calm guidance during uncertainty. That trust becomes the emotional foundation for almost everything else. Another thing that surprised me repeatedly was how often deeply bonded dogs naturally followed guidance without force, once trust became strong enough. The relationship itself started doing much of the work. The dog wanted connection, clarity, predictability, and emotional stability from the trusted person guiding them through daily life. And those needs often mattered far more than dominance ever did. The more I observed dogs closely, the more I realized many do not see humans as rival pack members at all. Dogs seem to experience humans as something far more emotionally important. Providers of safety, sources of reassurance, social partners, guides through unfamiliar situations, emotional anchors during uncertainty. And once you understand that, the entire relationship between humans and dogs starts looking completely different.